Hello, hello. Hi again, Miss McAllister's class and Mrs. Freil's class. It's Miss Allen for your daily music lesson that we have here. So just to remind you kind of what we did on Wednesday, I went through and read you this book, Manuelo the Playing Mantis by Freeman. So just to kind of recap what was going on in this story, Manuelo was sitting along listening to an orchestra, and he was so inspired by this orchestra, by this concert, that he wanted to make music himself. So he set out to try and make music his own way. Now he tried, we saw that he tried the same way that the crickets would make music, and they were very rude. They were like, no, you can't make music the same way as us. Bye. Oh, he also pulled down a reed to try and make a flute. And we said that, maybe this end piece was preventing him from making any music. And that he was talking to his frog friend, and his frog friend was saying, you can't croak the way I can. Bye. All these poor people making fun of Manuelo and him trying to do his own thing. He also tried to make a trumpet out of one of these flowers. It's actually called a trumpet flower because it does really look a lot like a trumpet. But no matter what he tried, oh right, he made a harp, but he accidentally was cutting all the strings with his pincers. Oh, poor Manuelo. He tried just about everything he could think of. And then he heard a small voice. And that was his friend, Debbie Webster. Sorry, I forgot her name there for a second. And Debbie Webster was having the same basic problem that Manuelo was having. She also wanted to know how to make music, but couldn't really figure out how. So she gave Manuelo a list of things that he would need in order to make his own instrument. He wanted to make himself a cello, so he went and got a body for his cello, which was the walnut shell, and a neck for his cello. The cello's neck was one of the reeds. And he would need a bow to play the cello, the piece that goes across, and he decided he was going to use a feather for that. So he put his instrument all together. Debbie Webster strung him some strings on his cello, and he started to play. And as he was playing, all of the creatures that he had spoken to and who had told him that he doesn't know how to make music like they do, decided to come and play along. And our friend Manuelo ended up being kind of his own band leader. He got to run his own orchestra there for a little bit. But he definitely wanted to save it for another time as well, so he put his cello up over his shoulder and headed home. And every day he would come out at night and play his little walnut cello. And that was Manuelo the Playing Mantis. Now, at the end of the last video, I said that we were going to learn how to make our own instrument at home. So I'm going to show you a few different instruments that you can make with stuff that might just be sitting around your house. It would also be, if you don't have it sitting around your house, pretty cheap to get these items. Most of them that I picked up or purchased, I got from the dollar store, Dollar Tree. So it's really not that expensive if you did want to try to make these own instruments out of things that aren't in your house. So I'm going to start with the basic idea of Manuelo's cattail reed, and we are going to make a flute or a wind instrument out of a regular plastic drinking straw. Now, I went to the dollar store and I got 100 count of the, bendy straws. I find that that's easier to make a sound out of if it has that little bend to it, because it kind of reminds you of how you would hold and play a saxophone. It has the neck of it sticking up like this, and then the rest of the instrument with the sound hole at the bottom. Now, if you don't have these kinds of straws, and if you can't head out to the dollar store or wherever to pick some up, you could also use just a regular straight ahead drinking straw like this. This one is from Dunkin' Donuts. Basically, I got an iced coffee and didn't end up using my straw, so I just had an extra straw lying around. It is a little bit thicker. I don't know if that's as easy to see. That the two ends of the straws are actually two different sizes. The Dunkin' Donuts straw is a little bit bigger, so that would mean if I were to make both of these into flute instruments, that this one would be of a higher pitch. It would sound higher than this one because the air in this straw has to travel further to come out the end, and because it's taking longer to come out, it loses a lot of the energy that makes it a high-pitched sound, so it ends up being a much more low-pitched sound if you have a longer instrument. Now, if you want the lowest of the low, you want to make a baritone saxophone, or you want to make a bass clarinet, or whatever it is, you could also use, here I'm going to unwrap this guy, one of these guys. These are you can use them for kind of bubble teas where you get the little pearls in them, or it's just like a regular smoothie straw. And this one you can see is a lot thicker than the other ones that we have here. So that is going to be our lowest sound. The sound has a lot more space to bounce around in the bigger straw, so it's going to make a lower sound. The other advantage to a straw like this is if you wanted to make a pan flute. So a pan flute uses 5 of these straws, so you would need 5 altogether. And because it already has a slanted end, that's kind of what you would want to make a pan flute out of. You want it to start out at a shorter length and get to a longer length, so you have a lot of different pitches that you can hear just from the one instrument. If you did want to make a pan flute, drop me a message in the comments or let your homeroom teacher know, and I can definitely set you up with another video on how to make a pan flute out of these smoothie straws. I actually only have the one right now, so I can't make you that instrument right now. I would love to, but these I believe you can also get at the dollar store. You get fewer of them, but still enough to make a flute or a pan flute if you would like. Okay. So, putting that one aside, we are going to start with this guy. So, as I said, it already kind of looks like an instrument that I already know, the saxophone. But in order to make it sound like a saxophone, it needs to have what's called a reed. And a reed is a little piece on a saxophone made of wood. It's also, you would have a reed on a clarinet, also on an oboe, and any of those woodwinds that are not made out of wood, basically is what they're saying. But it has to be wood involved, otherwise it wouldn't be a woodwind instrument, it would be closer to a brass instrument. So, to get started, you want to have your straw, and you want to squish down the top part. You really want to kind of like work your nail across it, because you want it to be as flat as it can possibly be. You can kind of see. Totally flatten it out in order to get this reed situation happening. And then when you have it all flattened out, as flat as it'll go, you need to grab some scissors. Now, you could have mom or dad or guardian do this, or you could do it yourself if you have a pair of scissors that you're allowed to use on your own. Really, we're just going to be making a few tiny cuts, so you just need to be sure that you're looking at what you're cutting and not at my video. So make sure that you watch the video, see how you do it, and then do it yourself. Don't try and do it at the same time, because last thing I want is for anyone to snip the ends of their fingers off. So I have my flattened end of a straw. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut on a diagonal because I want the very top of this straw to make a point almost. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to hold this down, and I don't want it to be like straight across. I want it to be so that I have as much straw as I can possibly use. So there's my one side that I cut off. Notice that I still have a bunch of flat space on the top. And I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. Made it a little uneven. I'm going to even it out. It's okay if it's not exactly even. You'll still get a sound out of it, but you do want to make sure that it doesn't have a lot of sharp edges because it does have to go into your mouth. Okay, so I cut off the sides, as you can see. And then there was a little bit of a point left on mine, so I made sure to cut that off because you don't want it to be super duper pointy. Then it's going to be really hard for the two pieces of your straw to kind of go together. So let's see if you can see that clearly. I have the end of my straw here. I have it cut up this side and cut up this side. It kind of looks a little bit like a snake's mouth at this point. So this is the top of the straw and this is the bottom of the straw. And there's just a little bit of space in between. As you go, I would keep squishing it down because it really has to be really super close to each other in order to make the sound that you want. Now, in order to just have a flute, just a regular flute that makes one sound, you're done. This is your whole instrument right here. You can either play it straight, or if you have the bendy straw, you can bend it a little bit. And the way that you get sound out of it is this. So, only the part of the end of the straw that you've cut is going to go into your mouth. Only this part. When you put it in your mouth, you want to make sure that your lips are over your teeth. So you kind of look like Grandma Shark. But not super far. You don't want to suck your lips all the way in. You just want them to be covering your teeth. So if you smile, then we're not seeing any of your teeth. Okay? Then, I'm going to put just that end into my mouth. Everything sure. Put my lips around it. And you might need to either put a little bit more of the straw into your mouth, take a little bit more out of your mouth, and just kind of blow very gently at first. And then when you get more confidence that it's going to make a sound, you can blow a little bit harder. Let me see if I can get it going for you. Well, you heard a little bit of a squeak there. That's kind of what we were going for. Another solution, I might want to even cut off a little bit more of the end, because the thing that's making the sound is you pressing together with your lips and teeth, and then you're blowing fast enough that these pieces are vibrating really, really fast. They're going, and eventually that vibration turns itself into a sound down the barrel of the straw. So let's see if cutting the end off helps. Alright, so I'm having a little bit of trouble with that. So this is one version of the instrument, just has the reed portion at the top, and then is just a regular solid straw. Another thing you could do if you wanted to be able to play more than one note on this straw, because with this it's just going to be one note that comes out, is you can add holes, finger holes, the way that you would see on a clarinet, on a flute, on a saxophone. And the way that you would put them in, you want to make sure that it's even with the top of your reed. And then you're going to pinch the straw. I wouldn't start very close to the top. I would start kind of near the middle top, but not straight up at the top, because then it's not giving the air a chance to travel anywhere. And what I'm going to do with my scissors, I'm just going to cut not all the way through the straw, but just kind of in and up, like that. Now, it's kind of hard to see, but there is my first hole right there. Okay. Now I'm going to do maybe just 2 more. And same thing, whenever you cut, you want to pinch the straw so that it's all going to end up in the same place. And remember, with the scissors, you want to go up. You don't want to cut straight in, because that's not really going to make a hole. It's just going to crack the straw. Alright, so now I have 3 holes in my straw. You can kind of see where the bumps are. Now let's see if that helped my playing here. Alright, I'm having a little bit of trouble with it today. I was doing it pretty solidly yesterday, but that's always how it is, right? As soon as you sit down to record something, it just never happens for you. So this is the second version of the instrument that we can make, is the same straw reed instrument, but then it has holes down the sides. So here I would be able to, in theory, play 4 different notes on here. I could play it without putting my fingers on any of the holes, with my finger on 1 hole, 2 holes, 3 holes, whatever it may be. Okay. Now, if you don't have those bendy straws, I'll show you how to make a version of it out of this straw. So, if you wanted to make the same straw that we just made, or the same instrument we just made, you will need to squish this one down. It's going to be a little bit harder on these straight straws, because there's not really like a clear place for you to stop. You just kind of have to figure it out where you would want the end of your instrument to be, really. And then you would do the same process. You would cut diagonally, and if you wanted, you could cut down the barrel of this kind of straw as well. The instrument I'm going to make with this straw is actually kind of a version of the whistle, but like a slide whistle. If you've ever heard in old cartoons, they go when people are falling, or whenever anything kind of kooky and cartoony is happening. For this, you'll actually need 2 straws. So if you have one of these or 2 of these, then that's fine. You just got to make sure that one of them fits into the other one. So actually, this one that we just used would actually be perfect, because they do just kind of fit evenly in here. And then what we can do with that is you make the rest of the instrument the way that this one looks. And then when you're blowing into it, instead of having to make holes down the side to change the pitch, you can just blow into it and pull the other straw out. So it's almost like you're making a slide trombone, if you've ever seen one of those that goes brrrr. And if you take the straw out, the pitch will be lower. If you push the straw up, then the pitch will be higher. So it is kind of making that instrument a little bit easier for you if you wanted to do it that way. Alright, and you can technically use this kind of straw to make this slide instrument, or to just make the regular reed instrument, but obviously if squishing down the end of this skinny little straw is hard, then squishing down this end is probably going to be that much harder. These straws are also usually shorter, so it means that your instrument will not be as long, just in general. Okie doke, and that is our final lesson for Manuelo the Playing Mantis, and I will see you guys bright and early on Monday for your next lesson. We're going to be talking about a book called Nana Hannah's Piano. And yeah, it's going to be fun. Hope to see you guys there. Have a good day.